Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you a feature match for the week. Sorry for the weird black bars on the side. We were trying out a different camera and then found out the footage was going to look like this, so I tried to minimize them as much as possible. I got this footage while I was at GP Montreal. On the left we have Brandon Signer playing a green-black Fox control versus Erical of Volt Magic. Link to their Facebook community down below. He is playing a black, white, red Gil Lapis 2 control. So kind of a control mirror. Each one kind of plays around with things a little bit differently. Let's see how it goes. So it looks like Erical's going to be on the draw. Brandon over on the left playing Fox. Definitely likes being on the play. Gets him more chances to see those killing stones. Trying to decide how to mulligan here. They already knew what each other were playing, so that does change their mulligans a little bit, just like we normally do on the channel. Sight's not super important, etc., etc. Calls his first stone, see if he gets that killing stone. He does not. Gets a black silence, so he plays out that monkey trapped in life. Go to Gil Lapis, taps for stone. Hits that magic stone of Ebon home, gets to RFG a card. Ooh, nice. Hit a Sacred Elf, and then energizes to play the Hatred card. That's either a 1-drop board wipe or lets him steal a card. If I was in Erical's position here, I would probably have actually grabbed the Red Riding Hood, because it's going to get him closer to, once he gets it on board, it's a green creature, right? So it stacks a little bit with Monkey for killing stones, and once he gets it on board, he can ramp. I'm more concerned about that than I am with Shade, but he decides to grab that. Out comes the Red Riding Hood after he gets not another killing stone. It's the green-black countdown stone. Swings in for that 100 damage and then passes. Back over to Gil, hits another Ebon home, gets another card out of there. That's an Abdul. Plays a Hydromonica. Seems like his hand feels pretty dead at this point. He's trying to use that Hydromonica maybe to make it look a little bit better. And now we finally have that killing stone. We have Atama, so they're just getting a draw there. Trying to cycle some cards. And getting in a poke for 3 damage off of the Little Red, and then 1 damage off of the Monkey, putting him down to 35. So getting that early game chip in against a control list is actually pretty helpful, especially since he seems to kind of be stumbling a little bit. He's going to go ahead and use that Hydromonica to set up his next draw. I imagine the wipe the board 1-drop spell, something like that, or an Endless Night could be helpful here too, but again, now that Red Riding hits on the board, it's going to ramp ahead. If it dies, which is not the greatest thing, Fox having multiple killing stones is never good. Taps for another stone, hits another Ebon home, hits another card. Out comes the Wall of Wind. And yep, there comes that Endless Night. I'm not sure how I feel about casting it right there. I maybe would have waited. But you might also see, now that he saw the Wall of Wind, he might be concerned about being canceled. Fox is going to come back to the hand. The Sacred Elf gets to survive. They're kind of making sure the graveyard and RFG areas look a little bit more separate, even though they're stacked on top of each other. So Fox is going to get flipped. Out comes a Monkey trapped in life. This is probably the best situation here. He's going to stack those 2 and probably produce green with the Sacred Elf, I imagine, to bring out a Griffin. Griffin's going to ramp. He misses a killing stone again, which is really unfortunate for him. And again, this is the situation where I'd probably go ahead and save the Endless Night for. Like, 1 Griffin's not too big of a deal. And you wait to see if he gets another killing stone and then kind of maybe wipe the board after that comes out. He'd probably get a lot more value out of it. He's probably just concerned about seeing cancel spells. So, just lots of cards coming down. We have the Lilius Petal's Assistant to grab the Tama, another Tama, and then a Divine Bird of Ataraktia, so that if it gets killed, he'll get to draw another card. So lots of draw power on Brandon's side, and Gil Erical's kind of seems to struggle there. Hits another Ebon home, still hasn't seen any white, which is kind of unfortunate. Gets a Monkey trapped in life RFG'd. He's got to deal with a lot of damage, and any creature he plays is just going to start getting cycled or killed by Fox activations. He gets this 1 turn but it's probably not very good. So I don't really agree with the Soul Hunt there. He had to discard one card. He got rid of the Divine Bird, discarded a card from his hand, and then just played another card. It seems a little risky. It seems a little ineffective. Just didn't seem very necessary. He's going to go ahead and place a counter on Fox, cycle up his Killing Stone back into the deck, and then recover. The Rook Egg is really not doing much against a 12/12 flyer at this point. Does hit his next Killing Stone, so he can keep the party going. Looking to see if he's got anything in his grave he wants to do. He's thinking about doing Resonance with the Shade. It looks like he maybe discarded a Shade. Swings in the air. Oh, he's going to go ahead and crack the Tama into the Rook Egg. I don't necessarily agree with that either. I would have at least tried to swing with it and see if I can get some damage. And then he's using Lilia's Petal to just bring it right back. I still would have swung, tried to hit the 2 damage, then popped it. At best, it's exactly the same, or worst, it's the same exact thing that he just did. At best, he gets an additional 2 damage out of it. So, taking a lot of damage on Ericle's side here. He's taking a Lilia's Petals Assistant, a Tama, a Griffin, and now Brandon gets to use a Fox activation on his turn, place that monkey trapped in life. Cycles out a Tama and the monkey and his Killing Stone, dealing another damage to Ericle, bringing that monkey back to his hand. Hits another Griffin and ramps into 2 more Killing Stones. So at this point, there's really probably not much that Ericle can do to come back. He's staring down at least 1 more Fox activation on his turn. He doesn't have any creatures in play. He's not nearly close enough to a board wipe, unless he plays Eternal Recurrence, which I doubt. But his opponent's probably got some form of cancel spell at this point since he's playing green. And we've seen cancel spells. So it's not looking good. He's got it lethal easily with Griffins and all of this other stuff he has on board. Griffin and Tama will do it. He's going to play that Valentina and taps him out to pretty much almost empty, and he's just going to go ahead and Final Breeze it, put it back in his hand. And at that point, Ericle says, yeah, you got it. I don't have anything I can cast for 1. So let's go ahead and go on to Game 2. So this time, Ericle's going to be on the play. Hopefully his opening hand is a little bit better, a little bit stronger. Actually has some stuff to be able to interact with. That game kind of quickly was run away with by Brandon as soon as he started ramping with the Griffins. Out comes that first card. See what it is. Maybe a Nameless Mist, a Barrier Shadows. I believe they did sideboard. I was busy talking to other people around the event while this was recording, so I told them they could sideboard if they would like. I'm not quite sure if they did or not. They might have. Brandon hits that countdown stone off the top, passes the turn. Ebon Home gets hits a orb, change the world, and then out comes a another barrier, which is not great. I mean, now he has to pay 2, and so this was weird. So he's going to use Final Breeze to cancel it, but the Nameless Mist just goes right back to his hand. So essentially, he just wasted his Energize, and he's going to get Final Breezed anyway. That seems kind of weird. He must really want to save some of the cards in his hand. I don't know. It just seems kind of counterintuitive use of his will there, especially if he had a second Final Breeze. You know, it's like, well, he's got both. Unless you really, really value that Gale Force he's got in his hand. Just seems like a not optimal play. In comes a Heaven's Rift Stone, and that Nameless Mist just gets recast. He says, you know what? Forget it. Oh, he didn't want the Black Moonbeam to get stolen. And yeah, and there it goes. Now it gets stolen. If I was... Yeah, see, here's the thing. If I was in that position, knowing that there's a Black Moonbeam there, and wanting to resolve that Barrier Seal, I would have just taken the Final Breeze and then played the Barrier Seal. Because the Barrier Seal early on against Fox is just like heavily debilitating. And the Black Moonbeam's really not doing anything for him right now. Plays the Tama, draws a card. Plays Tama. Draws another card. Plays an Orb, which costs him 2 to be able to activate. So at that point, I don't even know why you put it on board. at least for now. And then plays the Divine Bird of Ataraktia. So he's got 3 guys on board, but he is tapped out. So let's see what happens next. Calls a stone. Plays black-red, or double black for a Lapis Dark Storm. Trying to hit as many cards as possible, it looks like. Hits the... Ooh, Messenger of Lily's Petal is excellent for him to hit, and then out goes the Abdul. So at this point, the only card left in his hand is Final Breeze. Would have probably gotten rid of the Final Breeze. I don't know why he didn't. He's going to tap his other 2 stones, and then comes the Barrier Seal. So all of those cards are now gone, RFG'd, instantly benefiting Lapis. And now at this point, anything that Fox does is just going to be permanently RFG'd. So he's only going to get a maximum of like 4 Fox activations if he can't get rid of those barriers. And the other problem is for Fox at this point, he doesn't have any black creatures. He has to see a black creature to be able to flip, or to be able to like make some headway. And unfortunately, he doesn't see one. So he's just gonna go ahead and swing in with his guys. 500 damage, no big deal, and then pass the turn. Ouch! I just saw what got drawn. He hopes he's got another cancel spell in his hand that isn't Final Breeze, but if he only runs breezes and winds, then he's in for a world of hurt, because there is Alice's World of Madness. So now all of the creatures on the board, both sides, get -2/-2, and now anything that gets sent to the graveyard gets RFG'd. At this point, Fox has to see a Heavenly Gust. He has to hope he sees a Heavenly Gust, or at this point, it's pretty much over. Red Riding Hood can survive here. Lilia's Petal's assistant can survive here. Abdul can survive here. But any of his Tamas, monkeys, anything like that is just going to get immediately killed. Eric's going to go ahead and do Judgment, take the risk, flips over Gil Lapis, starts to look at the graveyard here. So for those of you who don't know, Gil Lapis can pay X, and then until the end of the turn, he can cast a card from his opponent's field for cost X. He can also give himself Swiftness and Swiftness and Target Attack and Flying and all kinds of stuff by putting cards back. And Brandon says, no, I'm going to go ahead and just save myself some damage, and I'm going to go ahead and use this Final Breeze. And there's no point in this Final Forfeit, and there's no point in casting the Final Breeze from the RFG, because he could just then immediately recast the Final Forfeit, because he hasn't cast anything else this turn. Out goes the Nameless Mist into a Wall of Wind. He's got a Monkey Trapped in Life, which is essentially worthless at this point, and then passes the turn. So Brandon's essentially going to try to use all of his will here during the upkeep, since he hasn't cast anything really, to start adding counters to hopefully draw some cards and try to replenish his hand. So, because if he doesn't, Gil's just going to run away with it. He's essentially just trying to run into a Black Moonbeam here at this point. Pays 1 for a 3rd Barrier of Shadows. Just an unusual card to play against Fox, but when he's got those counters on, it makes a lot of sense. It's going to go ahead and swing for 1,000, taking Brandon down to 30. Go ahead and cast the Tama using Gil Lapis' effect. Pays 1, he can cast a 1-drop until the end of the turn. They do catch the fact that Tama does need to die, so don't worry about it, guys. They'll both catch it here in just a second, because that Tama will immediately get killed by its own rules process. And then Brandon went ahead and paid 4 during the upkeep to draw a card off of Orb, and like I said, there they go, they catch it, that the Tama is immediately dead. There's that Heavenly Gust. He finally saw the Heavenly Gust. Not quite as much as what he wants, but it's still fine. Casts the Divine Bird to get the draw power, just so that he can torrent and cast Heavenly Gust. Now, he could cast the Final Breeze here in response, but Erical also hasn't cast anything this turn, so when it gets put back into his hand, it'll just get recast, and then everything will get destroyed anyway. So they kind of start going through the motions, and then they're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't actually cancel anything. I'm not going to do that. So these two guys were playing pretty casually. But just so you know, this is one of the problems with Final Breeze when you're playing Control Mirrors, is low-cost instant cards do not really get affected by Final Breeze unless you can torrent with it. And at this point, it doesn't really do much. So it is going to resolve, which is really nice, because now he can finally start to do stuff. He can Judgment for free. He can start playing his little dudes, try to reestablish. Out comes a monkey. And you have to remember, at this point, Gil Lapis can cast stuff, so he'll pay to try to go into there, see what he can grab for, I think, a 2-drop, if there's a creature or something. If I was Erical, I would actually cast the Final Forfeit. I'd spend 1, cast Final Forfeit before that monkey resolves, just to set him down to only 1 activation. But he also could wait and see if he's going to have another creature, like the Red Riding Hood. So here, in response to the Red Riding Hood, I would cast Final Forfeit on Fox, just to make it so that this turn he can't possibly get anything. But instead, he's going to just go ahead and Final Forfeit it, which makes sense, Final Breeze it, put it back in his hand, which also makes sense. Either one is a fine move. It's just based on how much will he wanted to burn. I think they're talking about how cards would get RFG'd because of Barrier Seal. Technically, I believe that Heavenly Gust should be RFG'd, because at the time of it being removed from the chase, the cards would still be applying to the field. But I could be wrong. So they're probably just having that conversation, I imagine. So at this point in time, any card that is RFG'd is now in Erical's hand. So his hand is massively large. And he just gets to start ripping the hand of Brandon apart. Again, look, he had 2 cards in hand. Both of them are just immediately gone. And he's got a final ability to cast Final Breeze. So if, Erical tries to do something too impressive, it's just gone, and all kinds of stuff. So if I was in his position, he does Ebon Home. He does tap for Ebon Home, which seems a little weird. I would just push for damage and leave my stones up to be able to mess with whatever it is that Brandon plays. But he's going to go ahead and swing. And then Monkey's going to go ahead or he's going to play a Valentina, burn the Monkey, and then RFG it with Valentina's effect. And then he's going to put some stuff back into the deck to give Valentina some swiftness. And then he's going to start poking in that way. So, still able to get some damage while progressing the board state. Don't necessarily know if it was necessary. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point either. Because there's no way that Brandon can get a Fox activation at this point unless he happens to top deck a Lilius Petal's Assistant. Because with only 1 card, there's no way he can bring it all back. So, he can draw some cards with the orbs. You can draw 1 card with the orbs and see what happens. See if he gets lucky. Plays a dork. Plays a monkey. Wow, like super lucky there that he gets to go off. I imagine you probably grab Amit here to get that Valentino off the board and gain some life back. Probably the best case. Yep, there's the Amit. So he's going to kill the Valentina, get it off the board, gain 900 life back. Probably a smart call here. Replay the monkey. And so now he's got room for a Fox activation during the next turn. He's going to go ahead and thinking about tapping for stone or shuffling a stone. I would do exactly that. I'd call for another stone. Not that it matters. He has no hand, but you know what I mean. So I don't know if Erical sees it, but he just actually drew like a crazy good card. Black Moonbeam, at this point, he can just cast that final forfeit on Fox and then kill Fox, which I think is infinitely better than whatever he's going to do. So I think you cast final forfeit here. You pay 1, cast final forfeit, force him to do a Fox activation now, or say I'm going to be patient, and then if he doesn't, he just dies and just loses it. So yeah, it seems like a kind of counterintuitive move here. But instead he's going to try to kill the Amit, and in response he's just going to stack the Amit and the Monkey to play a Griffin and ramp 2 stones. So again, in the sense of final forfeit, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, he'd get the Griffin, and that's fine, but he'd be down to 1 card, and then you just have Fox just completely dead, and then you can just give precision to him anyway, and then kill him. Erical might not have realized that he could use the final forfeit to make that happen, so then he just discards the Moonbeam there. If that works out that way, and you final forfeit, and then you kill it, and then you kill whatever he brings out, especially since he had Soul Hunt, then Fox just scoops, because Fox can be destroyed if you final forfeit it. Fox is therefore gone, and therefore the Fox deck literally has access to 0 of its answers for the rest of the game. It just has small fries, and it can't answer a 10-10 flyer that's just going to hit it every turn. Unless Brandon is playing some kind of reincarnation engine, like Dance of the Shadows, or Dance from the Shadows. At that point, once Fox dies, it's literally over. And it would have actually kind of been cool to see Fox be killed by its own cards. So, it's not really going to matter here. He's just going to take so much damage anyway. He's only got 1 card in his hand. He's going to go ahead and say, well, I'm going to get rid of it. He's going to go ahead and cast it on final forfeit for no reason on the Valentina, so it can't be bigger. And then second Valentina comes down, and that's the end of that game. So he's just going to make it Swiftness, and then all 3 of them will swing in, and there's nothing that Fox can do at that point. So game 2 goes to Erical, and we see what happens in game 3. So Erical is back on the draw. See how that goes. Shipping away the Riula, doesn't really need it. He didn't really get killed last game, especially since he was just ripping Fox's hand apart. He wasn't needing to worry too much about the Moonbeam. Fox hits that turn 1 Black Silence into a turn 1 Dork, which is pretty good for him. Ooh, I see that Alice's World of Madness. I'd probably wait 1 turn to cast that, just in case there's a Wall of Wind. But I think that card comes down ASAP against Fox, especially if he misses the Killing Stone here. And I think that's what Erical is thinking about. He's like, well, do I risk it? Do I risk losing this card? And he's going to go ahead and try for it. And unfortunately, there is no Wall of Wind. So that is a major bummer for the Fox player here. He does hit the Killing Stone there. But now that Tom in his hand is dead, he can't play a Monkey. He just has to struggle to go uphill at this point. He does have that Final Breeze, or that Heavenly Gust in his hand, which is a pretty good thing for him to have right now, especially if he can Torrent it next turn. Probably would have casted the same turn, and if I'm, in this point, if I'm Brandon, yep, I gotta go ahead and cast that Heavenly Gust to try to hit the Alice's World of Madness, just to get it out of the way before that Nameless Mist resolves, and then out comes the Black Moonbeam. But with that hand of Monkey and Tama, and now a Red Riding Hood and being at 4 stone or 4 will, since that madness World of Madness is gone, this is going to be definitely an uphill battle for Erical. If I'm Brandon here, I'd probably pay 2 more. He's going to go ahead and poke with the Elf, which is very interesting. I probably would have just tapped out, played the Red Riding Hood, and then sacked Monkey and Red Riding Hood, gotten 3 stones up with the Griffin. Just feels like it would have been a much better choice. Unfortunately, his 2 stones were not killing stones, so if he had played the Red Riding Hood there, he might have seen the 3rd one. But Griffin is out and ready and rocking. Calls for that next stone. It's another Heaven's Rift. He's got lots of cards in his hand for discard. He's got 2 will potential up at this point. Pays 3. Tries to cast an Endless Night on the Griffin. It's going to get wall-winded. Yeah, so a little bit too little too late at this point. It's not looking good. Calls for another stone, hits that killing stone. So like if I said, if that Red Riding Hood had been on the field, he would have actually gotten a 2nd Fox activation, and this game would have been even more over. All of those swings are going to go through, taking him down to 22, sacks the killing stone, taking him down to 21, and then he's going to replay the Monkey. Out comes another Griffin, 2 more stones, whiffs again on killing stone. Again, Red Riding Hood is very good for helping Fox do what it needs to do with more ramping. In my opinion. But at this point in time, Erical needs 1. He's dead on board next turn. So he has to answer both the Griffin. He has to answer 1 Griffin, Red Riding Hood. Otherwise, there's just so much damage on board. Let's see, 12, 9. And there's enough on board with just Monkey, Griffin, and Elf. If that so Monkey, Griffin, Elf, Red Riding Hood, there's enough damage on board there for lethal. So he has to deal with Red Riding Hood and Griffin. That Abdul is not going to cut it because there's just going to be so much damage in the air. And I think Erical probably just knows that. Killing Stone comes into play, and then 12, and then 12, and Erical's just like, nah, I didn't have anything. 3, he had a Valentina, and 3, oh my gosh, and 3 Lapis Darkstorms in his hand. So that is the match, guys. Huge thanks to these guys for playing with me at, or for playing the game for you guys at the GP in Montreal. Deck lists will be up this Saturday, and until next time, guys, this is DMO73 signing off.